I just want to pick up on something you said there. You said that Trump is not playing 4D chess. Are you at least happy that he's playing 2D chess? Does he have basic strategy? Because that I've got to say, there was not overwhelmingly evidence in the first term.
Well, I am very much a glass half full guy rather than glass half empty guy in
Right.
most. So certainly, Trump version 2.0 is seems much better than version Trump version 1.0, and you shouldn't expect too much. But the biggest single thing that seems to have changed, though many things have changed, he seems to have largely reduced or eliminated what I call the evil counselor problem. So instead of Jared and Ivanka advising him, he has Don Trump Jr. and JD Vance. That doesn't mean that Trump is going to do everything that I or someone on the right wing, however defined, is going to say is awesome. He's a politician. He's a boomer. For example, like I wouldn't have picked his Treasury Secretary simply because I think the Treasury Secretary has a grossly disordered personal life. But he'll probably be a fine Treasury Secretary. I mean, just because I wouldn't have done it doesn't mean that Trump shouldn't have done it. And we shouldn't get all hung up on these kind of things. We'll see when push comes to shove, but early returns are good, is my opinion.
To what extent do you think that this is a sort of generational thing? Because I don't know how much you follow European politics, but over here, Nigel Farage is just disappointing us every single time he opens his mouth. He recently had an interview where he basically suggested that we need to be very nice to the hordes of Muslims coming to live in this country because they're going to be the majority in 2050, and therefore we kind of need to suck up to them. We need to start sucking up to them now. I kind and Trump himself disproves this, but I'm often left with the assumption that you can only really upgrade a boomer so far. I mean, I know Farage is actually the oldest possible Gen Xer, but it kind of feels like in many cases you just need to flush them through because the older generation were raised on TV, a set of liberal assumptions, and no matter what you do, you just cannot unpick those liberal assumptions out of their sort of core programming. So do you put any stock in that it's a generational thing, that actually a lot of this will wash through as younger people come into it?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, boomers suck. They're like the worst in human history. And
apart from the ones that subscribe to Brokenomics. We like those ones, but all the other ones, yes.
Well, I'm Gen X. So I'm disturbed
Yes.
at 9 Gen X. I mean, I'm on the older side of Gen X, not the outer edge. But I'm like, how old is Farage?
He's like literally the oldest possible Gen Xer, so but within like 6 months or something.
But I mean, I find this actually fascinating. I certainly agree that there's a generational thing, but for years, at least in the States, we've been told that all the youth are always left wing, and so over time the right wing is going to disappear. I've always pointed out this is completely false. As a historical matter, the youth are not left wing. That's just something that people have made up since the 1960s. The youth's major characteristic actually is massive swings. For example, back to my Nazi Germany analogies, very famously, huge numbers of social democrats and communists overnight decided that Hitler was their new savior, because the youth is fickle and they like to follow things that nothing succeeds like success. So there is a generational thing. Those two things are distinct. Boomers just are for many of the reasons you outline, hopeless. I know boomers, or my mother-in-law, for example, who's not a boomer, she's actually older than that, but she still watches the evening news and believes everything she sees on it. It's bizarre. It's like watching someone worship an idol. I'm like, what the hell is it? And you can't, I mean, I don't talk to her about it because that would be rude, but so when the boomers disappear, that'll help. Catechizing the youth is also important though, but the youth seem to be self-catechizing. Certainly good.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that the right has been historically bad on for the past several decades is recognizing the value of culture, but that again feels like it's something that it's changing. So, I mean, for example, Lotus Eaters, a whole bunch of our peers, kind of in this world, whatever you want to call that, we are kind of shaping culture, and we're doing quite well. So, for example, for the British general election, more people watched us than all the mainstream platforms, with the sole exception of the BBC. But then they've got a budget of $5 billion a year, which kind of gives you an advantage. But we beat Sky News and ITV News and Channel 4 and all of those sort of big establishment platforms. So maybe that, as well as something, is do you get the hope that the younger, more base generations are heading towards a cultural win as well?
Absolutely. I mean, you can get kind of too much in the weeds about what a cultural win means. But I think broadly speaking, that's definitely occurring. And you see this, for example, in the younger generations have less support for radical changes recently imposed on us, like homosexual marriage. That is, people, if you had told, like, asked James Carville or some big leftist or Democratic talking head here in the States, they would say homosexual marriage is going to reach 100% acceptance among the young in no time flat, and it's going to go up, up, up. And in fact, it's gone the other way. And that's despite enormous amounts of propaganda to the contrary. So I think the parameters of that remain to be seen and will be dependent largely upon external events. For example, what happens during Trump's term, or whether they succeed in starting a war in Ukraine in which they try to draft young people. Those things will determine in large part what the cultural impact is on the young. But we're already seeing that shift, definitely. I mean, and you can see that in without repeating them on this podcast, slurs that have come back among the young, even on playgrounds, like among elementary schools.
Yes.
You know, a couple of years ago, people would have been horrified, and now, like, I openly encourage my children to use those slurs on the playground.
Very good.
So,
yeah, it does feel like that something has genuinely shifted, though, doesn't it? I mean,
yes.
I don't know if I'd go so far as to say the woke has been put away, but there has been a notable shift. I mean, just take this Jaguar thing, for example. Almost universal condemnation, and yes, we're still getting the sort of Japanese soldier coming out of the woke jungle, still thinking that it's wartime. We're still getting movies made that were commissioned a couple of years ago, but it does just feel like it's shifted and we've turned the corner.
Yeah, I meant the woke is the idea of the woke being put away as a choice by the woke was always ludicrous. But and there's never been any evidence for that whatsoever. But the woke losing skirmishes and getting beat back is definitely happening. Now, again, back to your point about punishment and friends and enemies earlier, the Jaguar ad is a good example. Yeah, it's been universally panned, but not a single person inside of Jaguar has suffered any ill consequences as a result. And yes. And nor will they. The ad agency will receive awards and be feted and receive new giant commissions. The people inside Jaguar will be promoted. Right now we're winning kind of cultural skirmishes, and those are very pleasing. But at the end of the day, until our enemies are totally destroyed and ruined, so that the ad agency who created an ad like that goes bankrupt and no one in it is ever able to work except as a scullery maid again, that's winning. Right now, just a few like skirmishes against the woke are pleasing, but let's not mistake minor skirmishes for battles, much less winning wars.
So how do we know we're winning?
Well, we know we're winning when I guess two things, but they're related. When the costs that are imposed on our enemies are vastly greater than the costs that are imposed on our friends, and that's indicated when more and more people abandon leftism entirely. Because we know we're winning when the 90% of the people who are not hardcore ideologues decide to change their principles entirely. They're like, I used to believe these things about the left, but now I reject the following 10 things that the left holds, and I am all on board with the following 10 things that the right traditionally holds. And I am a big, powerful, and important person with high status. When you see those things happening, but right now, I mean, Musk obviously has gone a large way in this direction, but nobody else has who is any kind of high profile, high status kind of thing. When we see high status people becoming overtly right wing, and there are a few tech people other than Musk, but when we see that happening, that'll be a function of the costs being imposed on the left, but that'll be kind of a clear indication that the right is winning.
If you would like to see the full version of this premium video, please head over to lotuseaters.com and subscribe to gain full access to all of our premium content.